Robert wants to know why we don't have Sean Salisbury on once a week. Well, don't we have him generally? I mean, there have been a couple of times where we've had to reschedule, but...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's weekly. Does he mean like season? Glenn Mason throughout the entire year?
Maybe that's what he means. Maybe that's it. I don't know.
Because that's more feasible, I think.
I'd love to get him a little stipend, you know? I'm surprised we haven't found a sponsorship for him. In all seriousness, as popular as he is... Because don't you think... I mean, Patrick... I think they have to have a budget for stuff like that. He's got to get like more than $150, doesn't he?
I disagree. I think.
Oh, you don't think?
I think the honor of going on Dan Patrick
that could be
for a lot of these guys.
You're saying it's not an honor to be on the Bumper to Bumper program, the afternoon aardvark?
I'm saying that's why he does it for free. Because it's an honor for him to be on both. I doubt Dan Patrick pays guests.
Do you think he'd be even more motivated if we found a way to get him a Pannekuchen Hoos gift certificate or two?
Definitely, because the Hoos, I think, has a good presence in Houston, too.
Well, I believe that's true. In fact, I think it may have started in Houston.
Probably. That's where they got the Hoos.
Gunbelt type.
They just spelled it differently.
Very, very true. Can you imagine? Well, should we digest a little more? Let me throw out one other thing, and then you and I can digest a little more what Salisbury had to say when it was the Vikings section of the conversation. Can you imagine what it must be like for another one of our favorite guests today? The news breaks earlier today, just I think with the last couple of hours, that the President of the United States has finally done what he said in this case he would do, and that this particular guest, who's going to join us either tomorrow or early next week, has hoped for his entire career. The president has released, or is in the process of releasing, or having released... Declassifying all remaining classified documents related to the JFK assassination, the RFK assassination, and the MLK assassination. And I already reached out to Gerald Posner, Pulitzer Prize winner, and about the possibility of coming on the show. Here's what he says early. Let me see if I can find I want to get the wording exact. I'll have a piece, writing a piece that will be out soon, but no smoking gun yet. Because that's what everybody's waiting for. It's like, is there something that's been held back for whatever the reason that might change everything on certainly the JFK assassination, if not either of the other two that are sort of thought of the same, even though obviously they're very different events, all very tragic. So, I mean, he's like shaking in anticipation as he's reading this stuff. And because he's so knowledgeable,
right,
he'll recognize something. He'll go, whoa, what? What did you find on Dealey Plaza? Well, I never knew that before. That might change everything. Now, my guess is ultimately there ain't going to be anything that changes everything. But for the conspiracy theorists, it won't matter because they already think that it's we don't know the truth, or it was a vast right-wing or left-wing or Cuban conspiracy. But I'm going to be fascinated to wait to see if he does notice anything himself as a person who has studied this case as closely and debated it and written about it literally for decades. I mean, this has sort of been his quest, right? He's written a lot of other terrific books, most recently Pharma, an incredible indictment of the pharmaceutical industries. But the JFK deal, that thread more than anything else, is what kind of put him on the map and what I know has fascinated him forever. So that's what he's right now, as we're talking, Gerald Posner he's culling through whatever files have already been released, and I assume there's a bunch, which means I can't believe he's going to get through most of them in 15 minutes. Right?
No, I thought I saw it was going to be like a 60-day process or something like that. It was going to take a while to get all that stuff out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very intrigued by the fact that he has the ability to go through it now. Because he's got to be front line, right? He's not wasting any time getting to whatever library they release it to.
No.
Whatever archive they go.
He's got to have a way in, like a back door,
he's already
front
said,
door in. Yeah.
Trisha? I think that's his wife, right?
That's right, yes.
Trisha?
Yeah.
Get me my go bag.
That's right.
It's time. He's had the bag packed for years and years and years.
On the other hand, as I'm thinking it out loud, the conspiracy theorists are going to say, well, there's more stuff.
Right.
that the stuff that really would make a difference, they're not going to release. They're just not going to tell you that they still are holding on to it, right? You can never win that.
In the bathroom at Mar-a-Lago. The classified documents there. That's where those are going to be.
I forgot about that.
I never will.
Yeah.
Because that's another executive order. We're changing what people can take with them, apparently. But you're right.
Yeah.
The people that don't believe we ever get the truth on anything are going to have another conspiracy over. They're just going to release some things that they want.
It's going to be the next one, right? I mean, it doesn't really matter.
The goalposts always move, as we say.
I think they do, don't they? I mean, that's the way I look at it, too. I look forward to every visit that we have with him, for sure. The texts have come in. We're going to trust Gerald Posner on this. LOL. That's a conspiracy guy. And all I can tell 507 guy is, God bless you. Believe what you need to believe. There is no better, not sensationalist, but reporter who's interested in provable stuff, facts, finding a way to resolve contradictions, loose ends, etc. Nobody I trust with this story more than him. In fact, the other guy I probably trust as much, the late, great Vincent Bugliosi, Minnesota's own.
Another guy who spent a lot of time on this.
I've said this before. I think he sent me the book when it came out. We had him on. This goes back, I want to say that book's probably been out 10 years. The book's got to be, I think it was like 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 pages. And then there was like a CD-ROM they called back in the day. That's what they called them?
Yep.
That had like another 4 million pieces of information on it. Vincent Bugliosi was an exhaustive researcher. So, again, I understand and always will. The sexier position is Oliver Stone. It's fun. It's more interesting. It's more provocative, but doesn't necessarily mean it's the truth. If you want to believe the movie, you believe in a lie. You want to believe in what's more likely to have taken place, you trust the journalists who have no axe to grind and who just indeed want to follow the story. And those are two of the best that we've had. Now, Vince Bugliosi wasn't a journalist by trade. He was a prosecutor. He, of course, prosecuted the Manson family, among other things, but about as brilliant a mind. Another guy that he was another one of those guys who we'd get him on, and I'd leave. I'd ask him 2 questions, and I'd go to the restroom, and he'd still be pontificating, and he would still be going. The famous story, I think this was, this might have been a Roofsy story. So this is pre-you.
Yep.
Corey Roof's former producer of the Bumper to Bumper program way back.
There was a producer before me.
Before you. That's exactly it. For the kids. And he reached out. I had him, I don't remember what the occasion was, to Vince, who obviously was living in Southern California. By the way, your link to him is state tennis champion. Vincent Bugliosi was. Yeah. I don't know if he won it 2 years in a row like you did, but he won it.
He would have investigated me to see if I actually won the second.
That's probably true.
Go ahead.
So Roofsy's called him, and he gets him on the phone, and he sounds like he's a little, maybe like he woke him up. And first thing Vince asked Roofsy is, what day is this? Like he was just completely out of it, or had gone on a bender, or was somewhere else in the mind. Who's to say? But an absolutely brilliant guest. Dr. Dan's inbox will be opened at the bottom of this hour. There's still time to get in on the fun, Guardsy tells me. So email Guardsy, jg@kfan.com. While back in action tonight on the Fan, it's the Utah Hockey Club, correct?
Correct.
And Russo Radio is going to join from the Fulness Fortress. Is that correct?
It
5:02?
is. 5 o'clock. Yes, sir.
And we get your superstar back.
The thrill. He's back.
He's back.
If you're going to the game tonight, you're going to be excited.
Isn't somebody else back, too?
I think Spurge is back.
Spurge is back,
too. The captain.
So we still got 2 big names out, but there is no bigger name, obviously, than Kaprizov.
It's time to go.
Have we found a Kaprizov? What's the most popular Kaprizov nickname right now?
Thrill.
It is Thrill. I got to have something else.
Or people just call him 97.
I
like the number.
97's okay. I feel like there's another one sitting out there yet to be
They're
located.
pretty locked in on Thrill, I think. You can ask Russo.
How about Thrillsy? Put a no Y on the end?
No, I think they just call him Kirill. Like the team. I don't even think I think he's so good they don't even have to abbreviate his name when they talk about him. I'm just thinking about when Billy Guerin talks about him.
Yeah.
I think he just goes with Kirill.
Well,
but I
feel like there should be something else. But in any case, we're back in action, and we'll talk about all that with Russo. Dan Rob Reiner has a great podcast where he talks about who he thinks, based on his investigations, murdered JFK. He assumes that there are approximately 5 shooters, only 5, in random locations all around Dealey Plaza. It's definitely worth a listen. Well, it's funny he brings that up because Posner told us that he did I think he may have even said it on the air.
Yes, he did.
Like an hour or two he got a call from Reiner's people.
There's another person on that podcast too, right?
Yes, there is.
Rob Reiner, there's a woman, I think, that's involved.
You're exactly right.
I'll look it up.
And they didn't use anything from Posner. He wasn't offended, but they didn't use anything because what his own reporting didn't take them where Rob Reiner wants to go. And God bless Rob Reiner. I'm not an anti-Rob Reiner person. I know the righties hate him. I don't get in the middle of that nonsense, but I don't love him politically either. I just don't care about that part. But very talented, obviously, guy in television, extremely talented.
Another good storyteller.
And another great storyteller, but I don't trust him as a reporter.
Soledad O'Brien.
Oh, was it Soledad?
Soledad.
Former guest on the Bumper to Bumper show.
I do remember that.
In fact, Soledad O'Brien, I think, still follows us on Twitter.
Is that right?
Something came up. It may have been Randy K related. I don't remember. Somehow that started. My guess is she's long muted me because I can't imagine she would actually pay any attention
Soledad?
to 82% of the stuff that I tweet about. That I say, what is this? What's he doing? I got to mute him.
Changes everything?
Yeah.
We didn't need him?
What does that mean? Yeah.
Why?
So I'm sure I've been, I don't think I'm blocked because I think I'd know if I'm blocked, but I'm pretty sure I'm muted. So we'll see. I have to believe. 97 is still Roenick to me.
Okay, fine.
I'm just saying.
We're happy for Jeremy Roenick.
People are now trying to come up with nicknames. It's not working.
That's why Thrill. It's just sometimes you just got to take the layup.
No, but there's too many thrills.
Who else is Thrill?
Well, in baseball, there was definitely at least one.
I was going to say, we're giving Will Clark. We're going to let Will Clark.
Will Clark was a very good.
First of all, that I even remembered Will the Thrill Clark.
That's pretty impressive.
Is a miracle.
Will Clark was a great player.
Awesome player. First baseman, right?
He should have been first ballot Hall of Fame, and it should have been unanimous.
Did you vote for him
No.
for the Hall of Fame when you had a vote?
I
would have been your era.
Probably didn't. I have no idea.
Show your
I
ballot.
don't have any idea. By the way, and how do we decide that this is the guy, that Ichiro's the guy? Because like we said yesterday, Jeets didn't get you. Did we out the person who didn't vote for Jeets?
I think we did, and I think Griffey was another one.
Yeah, Griffey was another one. And I will say, and I'm not going to give you the baseball source on this, but I had a conversation about this yesterday with a baseball person who said, great player, but if I'm going to lose my mind over one, Suzuki ain't it. I mean, yeah, Hall of Fame, first, but it's not the one where I go, well, they've got to change the system. Have we outed the guy yet?
I don't think they have yet.
Still working on it.
I think he's suffering in silence.
It's a matter of time. All right, let's make this the bottom of the hour break. The inbox is coming up, and then Russo Radio will follow the inbox, so lots of show yet to go.
Last night.
We do have some breaking news from the A section worthy of at least a quick minute or two. And, of course, I would like to believe that StarTribune.com would have this story. Yeah, here it is. A federal judge today temporarily blocked President Trump's executive order redefining birthright citizenship, calling it, quote, blatantly unconstitutional, unquote, during the first hearing in a multi-state effort challenging the order. I believe Minnesota is one of the states that is in that group. This is a federal judge in Seattle whose name I can't pronounce. It's spelled U.S. District Judge John Coffenauer, Coughenor. I'll go with Coffenauer. That's close enough. But in any case, this was, I think actually, this story indicates Minnesota's not in this part of the case. So regardless, this was the temporary restraining order. It's one of 5 lawsuits being brought in total by 22 states and a number of immigrant rights groups around the country. So stay tuned. I think most of the legal scholars I pay attention to are not surprised.
Right.
Where this goes from here, I have absolutely no idea on the sequencing. And then there's the other question about whether the president will abide by it. Because his first term, he got nailed. He got nicked a bunch. And he did abide by them. Now, there's some people who believe this time around he's in a different frame of mind, and he might say, well, I don't know. Okay, stop me. What are you going to do? The other quick breaking news item before we get to the inbox, this is a Rochelle Olson story, Star Tribune. There is a Minnesota Supreme Court hearing today. They've been listening to arguments on the stalemate of power in the House of Representatives.
All right.
As we speak. I don't know if that's yet been wrapped up. Subhead reads, justices sounded prepared to step in with a ruling, but what will that ruling be? For more than an hour, 6 Supreme Court justices vigorously questioned attorneys for Mr. Simon, Steve Simon, of course, the Secretary of State, as well as House Democrats and Republicans in a highly unusual case that could decide whether the GOP gets to run the Minnesota House for the next 2 years or must share power with the Dems. So everybody's looking for clues. Different people have come to different conclusions, and the way some of the questions were asked, that's a game that is fun to play, although ultimately often fruitless. And so we'll see how quickly. The assumption is they're going to rule pretty quickly as well. And
we need to get to work at some point.
Well, you'd like to think so, but they could also, they could say, well, we have our opinion, but we're staying out of it, and it's up to you to decide, and who knows where that goes. And the question is, will either side abide by the ruling? I have no idea. But in any case, those are the 2 legal issues I wanted to discuss before, at least in brief, before we hit the inbox.
It's time for Dr. Dan's Inbox.
Brought to you by?
Nobody yet, but it's available. And now that football season's over, we'll probably be more likely to hit it every Thursday right around 4:30. JG at KFAN.com. If you'd still like to get in, we might do 2 quick segments of the inbox because we've got a break to fit in about 7 or 8 minutes from now before Russo joins from the X. Dear Dr. Dan, it was a great conversation we had yesterday. Your question about Twins ownership, though, got me thinking about who would be on my Mount Rushmore of owners. In addition to the Pohlads, obviously, I'm considering N. Green, D. Snyder, D. Sterling, J. Fisher, J. Jones, M. Schott. The list came to me after a particular heavy bong session. Thanks again. So I need your help making my final decisions. R. Baldelli.
Well, I will say for the record that R. Baldelli confirmed that he does not consider himself very Cheech-like or very Chong-like.
No.
Either one.
It's an unfair representation,
He believes
I think.
it is. I think he's got some alternative, thinking when it comes to, stuff, but I'm not here to tell you what he does or doesn't smoke or take or whatever the case may be. And it's become kind of a fun inside joke with not all. Now, do you think it has something to do with the devotion to fish?
Totally.
So
and that he does seem like he's a deep thinker.
He is. Well, he is. He's
a unique guy.
He is.
Yeah.
That's also true.
So people make judgments.
Here's what I'll say. He's a big Grateful Dead fan also, which you'll notice I didn't bring up yesterday because I can't stand the Grateful Dead.
They also play the Sphere at Vegas a lot.
That's also true.
Looked cool.
And I will argue that if you actually are going to stomach a 96 minute Grateful Dead jam, you probably need to be stoned. Because if you're not, I don't even know how you could possibly tolerate it or put up with it.
Or maybe that's enough. You don't need the alteration.
That could be too.
Maybe that music is enough.
Yeah, I feel bad because the finish of the interview, that last question elicited the answer where he went deep in favor of the Pohlads. And for everybody who was swooning over the rest of the interview, they can't get past it now. Which I think is a little...
That's a them problem.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
it's like
that didn't affect me at all.
You can lift and separate, right? You don't have to... You can agree or you go, that's trying to... You land it on too thick. I don't think that should necessarily allow you or prompt you to reject everything else that he had to say.
Well, I've said this before about the poll ads, whatever you think of them, and we know how most people think of them as owners. People that have worked for them.
That's true.
Worked for them. As long as I've worked here, that goes back over 20 years now, have gushed about what it is like working for them and for the family.
Notwithstanding A.J. Przinsky.
AJ might have a different tact, but I'm just talking.
No, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, you know, the staffs, the baseball parts of it, the business sides of it. People like working for the poll ad in their other businesses too. You know, because believe it or not, baseball's not their only business. They've got some other things, and so I believe him when he says that stuff. Like that's his perspective on it. I don't know why people would get so upset about it.
He went, I think, as deep as I've heard him go regarding, you know, the trajectory of his professional baseball career. And the story, I think, is well known in baseball circles, but I don't know if the casual fan fully, you know, grasps what a great player he was predicted to be, what a great athlete he was.
The Woonsocket Rocket.
And where he was headed to go. And I thought it was fascinating to listen to him sort of lay out that story. And even for a while, the concern that it could be, you know, something even more serious than it turned out to be. And it's serious enough that it's chronic, that it bothers him to this day, this muscle condition. But it literally, you know, took out his career. And part of his reluctance, I think, is an understanding that, look, it wasn't terminal. You know, there's people who are dealing with a lot worse, which I think is self-evident, but that doesn't mean the story is not worth telling. And I thought that was my favorite part of the interview.
Well, when he said that he was in Columbia and the elevator opened and it says Lou Gehrig Muscle Center, that hits you hard.
Big time.
That was jaw-dropping.
Big time.
That was jaw-dropping. And I like that he said, what's next? Figure it out. Move on. And that's a good message. It's a good message, I think.
Very, very true. David.
Buck up.
Yeah, 100%.
Man up.
Dr. Dan's Inbox.
Man up, you say?
Yeah. What was the one? It was Nut Up, right? Nut Up was the Brett Sean Bryant text line.
You're right.
That was sent to
Nut
both
up.
of us. That we need to nut up. That was another State
Nut
Fair
up,
T-shirt.
Read the room, guy. There's
palpable dread.
Palpable sense of palpable dread is also quite good.
Got a lot. Dear Dr. Dan, you have long been an advocate to free my friend, El Garza, and the offensive prowess that he possesses. I know I'm a little younger, will make some mistakes, and I'm also not a finished product. But could you also spare a minute and maybe advocate for me from time to time? M. Conley is a great mentor and a wonderful guest on your show, but I need to put those lessons to use in game action that he's teaching me. I know I can bring some much-needed juice and experience will only help me and our team down the road. R. Dillingham.
Did R. Dillingham play against Dallas?
He did. I think he was like a scoreless 9 minutes, I think I read from Johnny.
That was McDaniels might have had the best game of the season, right? He was very good. I got to tell you, though, Dr. Dan was convinced through much of that game, and quite frankly, even late, that the unspeakable was going to happen. The Mavericks were missing like literally seven guys.
Yeah, depleted.
Including Luke, their own Luka. And we played down to them. I don't know another way to put it. We kind of semi-broke it open in the fourth quarter, and then they were like one play away from sending the game into OT, right? I mean, Kyrie had some good looks he missed by Kyrie standards, especially against us, because he kills us.
He just destroys us.
So I had Dr. Dan was convinced we were going to blow that game, and I think that would have been a whole new set of team meetings. I think the whole thing would have blown wide open if we'd lost. Now, the good news is they found a way.
Yep.
Right? They did hold on to it. McDaniels was very good. Conley had some very nice.
Maybe
very
his best
nice.
game of the year.
And
18 points.
They both might have had their best game of the year in the same day. There was a great quote from Julius Randle, basically talking about how old Conley is, and maybe it just takes him a little bit longer. Having fun with it. And, again, if you could bottle that form of Conley, you're back in a much better position.
McDaniels, too.
And McDaniels.
You just don't get that enough.
Not often enough. But you have to. I'm with Johnny on this one 100%. I think you have to find a way to make sure that Dillingham's playing pretty much every ballgame.
Denver, Saturday, House of Pain, 2 o'clock, national TV
It's
game.
another rivalry. This is our second appearance this week on National Rivalry Week.
Well, third, because Memphis was also...
No, that's
that wasn't rivalry week?
Rivalry week, easy for me to say, started Wednesday.
Oh.
I mean, you could have put it under there, but
why would they start a week on a Wednesday?
Because it was MLK. That was a whole different deal.
Let's pause here and come back.
Yeah.
We've got multiple letters to get to that are outstanding.
We'll get the jump straddle going, come back with some more emails and letters.
It's time for Dr. Dan's Inbox.
Oh, we get letters.
All right, we got a couple more letters to get to. No Top 5 at 5 today because Russo Radio is going to join us from the X.
By the way,
at about 5:02.
Because people have been clamoring to see the Kevin Fallness layer that you always talk about, Halby, always hustling, who works with Fallness during the Wild Games, has set it up where that will be watchable at KFAN.com/watch.
All he does is give.
He's motivated.
Did anybody ask him to do that?
No, he just texted me and said, if it's okay with you guys.
It's called initiative, Guardsy, in the business.
We
Remember
love to
when
see
you
it.
had it?
Vaguely, and we always appreciate it when Halby has it. So we take advantage of it when Halby does. So people that want to see the Kevin Fallness layer, the newly improved Kevin Fallness layer, as well as you, because you'll be a part of the video.
Okay.
KFAN.com/watch about 10 minutes from now.
Does that mean Fallness is going to clean up the area? Because it's usually a mess.
Well, I'm kind of hoping that Halby didn't tell him.
Yeah.
So that we actually see it
in surprise.
The natural habitat.
Fallness didn't even seem to know that was going to be happening. When I tweeted out earlier, he goes, wait, what are you talking about? Yeah. Almost like he did. My guess is he didn't intend to get there that early.
No, he knew that Russo was coming.
Oh, he did?
He just likes to play stupid.
Oh, I see. Well, he does that very well.
Dear Dr. Dan, Vikings are such a poorly run franchise. They have a chance to trade their coach, a coach, for 1 or 2 first-round picks. Instead, they keep KOC. Don't they know that coaches come and go quickly? You just hire another one. Some teams get a new coach almost every year, but first-round picks are amazingly valuable. You cannot overvalue them. Teams hit on those first-round picks all the time, particularly quarterbacks. Just a poorly run franchise that I'm very grateful we're competing against are Poles.
He's getting haughty, huh?
Apparently.
He makes one big hire, and now he thinks he's the cock of the walk.
Apparently.
Okay. All right. We'll see.
Let's play?
Well, maybe he's onto something, though, because is it as easy to find at least a serviceable head coach as it is a serviceable running back? Because that's the cliche. The cliche is you can get in any draft in rounds 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, even though I don't think there's 8 rounds anymore.
Not yet.
A couple of running backs. So if that's true, you can't get extra number 1 draft choices that easily, and Lord knows we need them.
Yeah, and we need a couple because a lot of times we screw up the ones we have.
Yeah.
At least historically.
Did I see this properly? This might be another reason why ultimately Ben Johnson said, yeah, I'll take my chances even if it's a screwed up organization. I think the Bears are have the 5th most salary cap money again for next year.
Okay.
And they've got 3 of the top 48 picks in the draft.
That would make sense.
That's pretty good capital, right? That's pretty good resources above and beyond what they accrued this last year, too. So I don't know. Do you have any remorse that we didn't explore the draft choice possibility?
No. No.
All you do is you move B-Flow up.
You could. Yeah.
Because, he ain't going anywhere.
No, he's stuck.
He's not going to get another head coaching job, at least not this year. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, I do like Flores, but I'm a KOC guy. Okay. I like KOC.
Well, I'd like to see him finish a little stronger.
You know what I think will get me for KOC forever is when he brought you that fancy water at training camp.
That was special.
But not that he brought it.
What he said about it.
That was all set up, obviously.
Yes.
But when he looked and said, you ain't getting this water in that tent.
That was well played.
That's the best line I've ever heard.
That was very well played, yeah.
Because it was that fancy water that I've never even heard of, if you have the means.
Yeah, I
can't get that water.
I can't remember the name of it either, but it is supposed to be fancy.
I remember Waylon texted about it.
Smooth.
She's like, ooh, that water?
Very smooth.
But when he just goes, you're not getting that in this tent.
They call it, I think, in the business, still water.
Yeah.
Not like Stillwater, Minnesota, but Stillwater.
Lovely place to visit.
For sure.
I would have given him a contract extension right there, just for that.
That would have been enough. You swooned at that point.
Well, it's just nothing to me is better than the bit.
That was well done.
You deliver the bit like that, I think you deserve all the flowers.
Very well executed. You're correct.
It's time for Dr. Dan's Inbox.
This is an interesting one. We've never gotten a letter like this before.
This is historic.
From 2 different people. Dear Dr. Dan, we share a name and the same general profession, and we've both had some ups and downs recently. One of us orchestrated the best offense in football, suffered a crushing loss last week, but rebounded to become a well-paid head coach of your favorite football team. Do you think I can get the most out of C. Williams? The other one of us has seen his team struggle in Big Ten season, despite some challenges, has not complained. But my team has shown some grit and had some great moments in a 2-game winning streak in the last week. Do you think we can keep it going? Sincerely, B. Johnson and B. Johnson.
That's very well played. Very well done. Very, very creative.
Which B. Johnson question?
Let's do the Gopher B. Johnson first.
They've got Oregon tomorrow, Saturday, 15th ranked Oregon Ducks at the Barn, 3 o'clock tip.
Let's put it this way. I mean, if you make it 3 in a row, knocking them off, then I think you start at least to getting people's attention. I mean, I think sooner or later you're going to win. You're not going to go you're not going to lose all your games. I don't think that's likely at this point. Big Ten's, I can't get a handle on Big Ten basketball right now. I don't know if it's just very balanced. It doesn't feel like there's greatness at the top. But whatever it is, they were starved for victories. They got the long shot from your guy Dawson Garcia to start the 2-game winning streak. And then as we talked about yesterday or the day before, they really, I thought, I don't want to say we're in charge of the game because they let Iowa get back in it late. But they definitely looked like the better team and the more interested team until Iowa kind of woke up, but by then they had no margin for error. So I don't know what to make of where this is really going, but there was no program in the country that needed a little bit of a boost more badly than the Golden Gophers did, and they got it. And if you can pull off, you said Oregon's 15. I haven't watched them. I don't know how good they are. But regardless, they're reasonably ranked. Then I think maybe you start at least pulling people back and say, oh, maybe I gave up on it, but maybe I'll take a second look at it. It's a long way, though, from here to there.
It's time.
I didn't do the other B. Johnson.
Inbox.
Can he get Caleb Williams going?
I think he can. I think I'd be surprised if he didn't. And as I said, he's got all these other assets going. But it is proof, too, by the way, nobody held it against him that his offense turned the ball over 5 times, right?
That's true.
I mean, they were the number 1 seed and lost by 14 at home.
It's rough.
And it goes to show you, I think, if you have a certain rep, that doesn't matter. Speaking, by the way, of coaches, not named B. Johnson, but E. Musselman, they won another road game. They've been better on the road than at home.
They beat Nebraska.
They beat Nebraska last night, and E. Musselman was hilarious. Did you hear the post-game interview?
No.
He's hilarious. He's just funny. He's fun to be around, man.
I might go check out his team next weekend in California when I'm there with the women.
Is that right?
They play Michigan State at home on the day that we have off.
A little disappointed in your club yesterday against Michigan.
Tough loss.
Yeah.
Thought they were going to get it.
They couldn't finish. They couldn't score late. Is that the big deal?
That is the big deal.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're also making history with this one. I want to reward this. I appreciate this. This comes from a longtime listener, first-time participant in Dr. Dan's inbox. This individual's taking a crack at it. So let's reward the initiative. Dear Dr. Dan, what do Julius Caesar, Jesus, Mufasa from Lion King, and me all have in common? All are betrayed by the ones closest to them. The only difference? I'm still here. For now, I did everything I was asked to do and more. I led the team to 14 wins. Do you know the over-under was 6.5? Threw for over 4,000 yards and got the squad to the playoffs after months of low expectations. But now it's out with the old and in with the new. Has everyone forgotten? People are calling for my head and want some kid who's never played in a full game preseason, regular season, or postseason to take my spot, not to mention how much of an improvement I am from last year's quarterback situation. I'm sure I do not need to bring up the check-stealing check-down guy. I guess I'm just stunned that one day I'm heralded as the king of Minnesota to public enemy number 1 in the blink of an eye. Am I safe in the North Star State, or should I start packing my bags? S. Darnold. Thank you, Eli, for listening and your first-time contribution.
Very well played. And it actually, the timing's outstanding because we got into this in a lot of depth with S. Salisbury between 3:30 and 4. And I agree with him. And I don't know if this is pie in the sky, but if you can get him for between, let's say, I think he threw out the numbers, $15 million to $18 million a year.
Yeah.
For 2 years. So in other
2
words,
years, $18 million just threw out.
And when he says 18, he means 2 years, 36, 18 per year, right?
Yep.
Or 15 per year. I would do that. And as he said, you're competing for the job. There's no guarantees. You're competing with the kid. And I think that's very reasonable. That does not put you in any kind of salary cap hell at all. Is there a team that's going to blow that out of the water? If there is, then God bless you.
Yep.
You move on. But if you
I think that's fair.
Get him in that range. There are people so mad at how he finished, and it was shaky, that they don't even want to consider that. I absolutely would consider that, even though I wouldn't just hand him the keys and say, it's your job again. I think at that point you do sort of have to prove yourself again. And I'll also say, first time he's ever been in the playoffs. We talked about what did Salisbury say? Takes head coach's time to figure it out. Our head coach has been in the playoffs twice. He's 0-2.
Got a big extension.
We ain't giving up on him. We're giving him an extension, right? So if that's true for coaches needing time to figure it out, might it be possible that Darnold, despite his age, needed a little bit of time because this is the first time he's been in any kind of pressure situation? So I would do it. Very quickly, before you chime in, another S. Darnold email that I want to read, which is also very clever. Dear Dr. Dan, I listened to the R. Baldelli interview and cannot understand why everybody was crushing him for the last 10% of the interview, while the rest of it was completely brilliant.
That's good.
Imagine being elite for 90% of the task and only being remembered for the last 10%.
We know it's not good baseball.
You would never think like that, right, Dr. Dan? Right? Your friend, S. Darnold.
That's a perfect walk-off.
Perfectly
Get us
played.
to Russo.
Let's do it. Let's talk hockey next.